Good afternoon, sports fans. It's Mark Old Ops Guy Halpern here for the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by the one and only Dugout of Millwood. So, who and what are we doing? So, we have a new podcast that we are running. It's called Coast to Coast. My friend Omer, unfortunately, was unavailable to make it today as he has stuff going on in Israel. And we were waiting for this beautiful guy to get a free day off and to be able to come and join us. I've explained how Omer was my one brother growing up. Well, here was the other one. Let me introduce the great Michael Shields. Good afternoon, Mike.
Hello, good to be with you.
This young man, as he is, spent the same amount of time on my driveway as with Homer playing ball with my brother, and we were do that all day in the backyard and everything. That's why I'm kind of excited now we can do this. And when Homer's back, we're going to actually have the three of us talking together. And the last time the three of us actually talked together is over 30 years in one
Very
room
true.
meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one thing that Mike and I share is the love for the New York Mets. That is one thing that Mike and I have done plenty of. We've gone to many Mets games. We've yelled, we screamed, we've jumped, we've cried, but that's just a Mets life. So this season, the Mets weren't predicted to do very well, especially with the injury to Kodai Senga and a pitching staff that was pieced in together with glue and band-aids. However, the lineup is solid. The pitching has far exceeded what was ever expected. And here we are coming into the All-Star break. We were in grasp for one of the wild card spots. Mike, at the beginning of the season, knowing what we had going, did you expect the Mets to be where they are now?
Not at all. I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit of the repeat, right? And I always say, it's very Jewish to be a Mets fan because there's a lot of heartache and struggle, and then every so often you think you're at the promised land, and then you get sent back to the desert, the wilderness. And so I thought we had a little more of a wilderness season ahead of us, with a little more hope. I think with David Stearns and the opportunity to a little bit of a repeat of last season, right? See where the first half of the season could take us, and then at the break, if it made sense to trade some of those pieces for to further bolster the minor league system, that'd be great. And that's kind of where I lean, probably 70-30, that's where we'd be. And the most of this season so far confirmed that, except for really the last month, right? Since, mid-May, I guess, or the end of May, and seeing this, the baby Mets who are not so baby anymore, really stepping up, right? And really driving the team forward with a sense of confidence and excitement and joy. And then you pair with that, a JD Martinez who brings this just stability and ability to really be a teacher. I think the next couple of weeks are going to be really exciting, and the easier schedule that they have the second half will also help them perhaps cement that playoff spot. And who knows, they add a piece or two, we'll be in really good shape.
Mike touched on a very good point that I did not, is that if you look at the Mets schedule in the second half right after the All-Star break, I mean, it's not a song and a dance, but it is a much less competitive as it was compared to the first half. Yes, they will face the Yankees again. Of course, you're going to have the division rivals of the Braves and the Phillies. Those are, but as for bigger teams coming in, if the Mets keep doing what they're doing, a wild card spot with a team that was not even predicted to do good, you'd be able to make grass grow. I mean, this is the amazing Mets. This is what they are. And as Mike and I both know, and the other Mike Rifkin, our CEO, chief editing officer, um, we have all said that we were missing a few things. Well, we granted the JD Martinez. We love that. And I know Mike and I spoke about that when it happened. The way they made the switch in the lineup, bringing Francisco Lindor back to the first spot, that's what he did so well in Cleveland. There was You put him in a position as a third hitter, you can pitch around him. You're not going to pitch around him in the leadoff spot, and he has been raking. Brandon Nimmo has been doing successful hitting right behind him, and this lineup is becoming more and more deadly. Now, Kodai Senga is about to return, but he will not return until after the All-Star break. Mike, we got to see Kodai Senga last year, and some of the stuff he had is just really nasty. But what would you think the expectations for Senga going into the second half? What do you
I,
think the Mets are going to allow him to do?
well, I think they should probably be conservative with how they deploy him, at least in the first kind of couple weeks. First four, maybe 4 or 5 starts, get him. See if he can get 4 or 5 starts. Maybe even I thought it was fascinating how they pitched Buddha at the end of yesterday's game. It would be interesting to see them, almost have a first half of the game starter and a second half of the game starter, and maybe pair him with a Budo, something along those lines, because I think not to have the pressure of having to go 6 or 6.5 innings, right, and just let them ease into it a little bit, because and I also don't think it's a bad thing for them to go, if there's another starter out there, which there are, to go get another starter, and Budo's looked really good out of the bullpen, and not be so locked into the starters that they have as starters, and just put together the best inning eaters that they can, and who can hopefully give up, have an ERA under 5, right? And so that way,
Right.
hopefully, if they have an ERA under 5 as a staff, and I know that sounds high, but I think the Mets production will remain high. I don't think it'll be 7 or 8 a game, but I think it could easily be on average 5. And if you add another batting piece somewhere, there's fascinating, especially if it's a 1 year rental, or just half a year, second half of the season rental. I think it could be fascinating.
And that's a big thing with the trade deadline coming up, is that the Mets are in a unique position, and it can go one of two ways. They can choose to add a couple of pieces, and where I think they need to add is starting pitching, and definitely need to shore up the bullpen a little bit. There's plenty of players out there, but what they're going to have to give up to get them is not always easy. Obviously, the Mets have made it very clear that Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos are untouchable. They're not going anywhere. They're Elliott Ness. They're safe. But the question becomes, with Vientos doing so well, are the Mets going to dangle Beatty out there?
I think Brett Beatty or Kevin Parada. I mean, they actually have two. I think there's another catcher behind Parada who's also looking very promising. So for teams out there who are light in the catching department, right? They may There may be teams who say, okay, we're kind of done for the season, but we want to see how a Kevin Parada does for a couple months, even at the major league level. I know it sounds crazy. I think he's in Double A, or he's in Triple A. I don't know where he is.
He's being moved up to AAA, but he's currently in Double.
But you know what? For a team that's out of the playoff hunt and a AAA player, which I believe Kevin Parada right now is AAA, right? I think he can be successful there. Um, hey, it gives him some time at the end of the season to get up with a major league team. I don't think the Pirates are a good, but I don't know who would be a good match for him, but he's an attractive piece. And Beatty, I think, has an upside for teams as well. He's shown a learning curve. He didn't explode as much as Vientos. He's been streaky, but I think he could be interesting. He could be interesting as a second baseman for the Mets in the future too, potentially.
And that's a big key, is that the Mets infield is really a big hodgepodge, because they're missing one prospect who was going to start the season, and that's Ronnie Mauricio. He was supposed to be starting the season up, but unfortunately tore his ACL in winter ball, and is missing this year, which hurts. But he will be back next year, so we have to remember we're getting him back, and we know what he can do. We just got to see how he returns after the injury. For the Mets to be truly successful, they're not going to trade Drew Gilbert. I mean, this kid is going to be electric. I think he needs one more year down there, one more year just to get him in, maybe even call him up early next year. But I really like the way this kid looks. The Mets do have a plethora of farm system they can work with. What Cohen did with Stearns last year by trading Scherzer and Verlander away and getting Drew Gilbert, Luis Angel Acuna, who's going to be up very soon. I mean, what we're looking at the Mets is a resurgence of youth. So,
Yeah.
and it's not,
It'll
it's
be
something.
yeah, it'll
Go
be
ahead.
interesting. I would love for them to surprise everyone and right at the trade deadline also extend Alonso because while some of his numbers have dipped a little bit, he's one of those guys. I hope he doesn't make the same mistake as a Daryl Strawberry and leave. And I think he can go. He can go on down in history as one of the greatest Mets of all time if he stays. If not, he's going to be a DeGrom who could have as well, but obviously some of those injuries really got in the way for DeGrom. But I don't think those injuries will be the same for Alonso, right? I think his production will actually. I think I'll see a greater production in the future, at least for a couple years. But from a baseball smarts place, he just keeps getting smarter. And so imagine pairing him, when JD Martinez retires in 2 years or a year, whatever it is. I feel like Alonso can really learn a lot from JD Martinez about how to be that kind of veteran. I think the Mets would be smart to re-sign Martinez for next year right now, and then even he's such a good. Just a good baseball mind. Almost give him like a retirement contract and say, "You're planning on retiring at 38. You have a place on our staff somewhere in our system." He's so smart.
Not to take anything away from Chavez, who is a great hitting instructor. I mean, his time with Oakland and all that. I would be all for JD Martinez to be stay on as the hitting coach. He's proved time and time again that he can produce and rake and put up consistency. And that's whether it was Detroit, Boston, now even with the Mets, he's still producing at the age of 36. And Mike's right. Shoring him up for another year would be absolutely smart right now, not like we did with Vogelback. So,
Well, imagine next year. Imagine you know Lindor leading off. Maybe Nimmo even in the two hole. I don't know, someone in the two hole. You got Soto, mix a Juan Soto into there, and then
he's already jumped ahead.
Juan Soto, Alonso, and JD Martinez as your DH. And really, I think the Mets, I hope, will continue to grow the flexibility of players, right? The players to play multiple positions, and looking at Ronnie Mauricio as a potential outfielder too, or at least getting him some time out there because all of a sudden, you don't forget to play how to play shortstop, really, but really have them put in the work, right? They're getting paid all this money to be ball players. Have them put in the work. So Ronnie Mauricio can play shortstop. He can play outfield. That's the value even now with Jeff McNeil having such a down year, a tough year. He can play all those positions.
And that's something the Mets haven't had since Joe McEwing. Joe McEwing, if you remember back, was the ultimate utility player. He literally could play all nine spots.
Yep.
And that has
Yeah.
gone away in baseball. You don't see players who can play every position.
Yeah,
But,
and I think the Mets would be smart. They would be smart to develop that a little bit more.
and with all these names producing this year, I mean, Iglesias, who went off even produced, showing off his single that he just released, you can't let this kid go. Mike touched on a player that we've been talking about, and that's Jeff McNeil. Look, I'm not going to take anything away from him. The man is a good ball player, always competitive, hardworking, but he's falling off.
He is.
With
I don't know what
every
you get for him though. Um,
I think he would do well as a DH spot in the AL. And I think the Mets could get a good bullpen hand for him. There's possibilities looking out in Toronto, possible. I mean, that's one option. The Mets have what they need in the rotation. Yes, I would like another solid starter, but you have six starters, so that's
but you
what
also
they
have
want.
what's his name, Fujinama. Don't you? You have him as an arm down there as well.
He's will return. He's going to be returning next week. He's in AAA now. So come the second half, the Mets are going to have their entire pitching staff that they were to start with there. Get one more starter and get a couple other bullpen, and never let a man by the name of Seth Lugo ever go again.
I had 2.17
Oh,
ERA or whatever he's got going on.
yeah,
Yeah,
with the
15
Kansas City
wins.
Royals.
Yeah, well, I also think that I would love to see Christian Scott get another, 4 or 5 starts. So I have a feeling he learned something from his first little stint, and I wonder, I think he could come up and be even more effective, and that could be a surprise, a little sleeper there, a sleeper for the second half and even the playoffs to see what Christian Scott can do. And by the way, I also think that. I think Jeff McNeil may get himself sorted a bit more. I just can't believe in a year and a half, whatever it is, he went from being the league leader in average and whatnot to where he is now. So I think if they don't end up trading him, which I wouldn't, I like him. I wouldn't be heartbroken if they did and got something back for him. But if they don't, I think he also has the chance of really being someone in September and October who could be this spark and a really steady veteran hand there as well. So I think we win either way.
Right. I don't know if the Mets can catch the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies have a nice lead. However, they just lost Bryce Harper. They just lost Kyle Schwarber.
Yep.
They did get back Trey Turner, which is good. But that pitching staff with Zach Wheeler and Noah, it's just a nasty pitching.
It is, but one elbow tweak and you're down one of them, and people, God, the number of pitchers. I forget which team has like 7 of their pitchers got Tommy John this year is crazy. So anything can happen in baseball. Look, the Mets are 4 games back of the Braves or 5 games, whatever it is. I mean, so I think I don't care how they get into the playoffs. You're right, they probably won't catch the Phillies, but I think they can work their way to being a competitive highly competitive team against the Phillies, right? I think they can really work to that point where they make it into the playoffs and then they're ready really to face them on equal footing.
If the Mets make the playoffs, no, let me rephrase that. When the Mets make the playoffs, is David Stern God?
He's pretty darn close. And but I think also he's smart, man. He's not thinking about just one playoff run. He's thinking about how do I establish, right, bolster my minor league system so then I can get into the rhythm of keeping it strong. And how do I make really smart investments, even if they're massive investments, in some key players? And I think that you'll see a real good possibility of Alvarez getting a longer term deal now, right? Following the Braves, sign him long term. And it seems like 15 million a year is so much, but compared to what you're paying 5 years from now, 4 years from now,
Right.
it's a great investment. And so I think you'll see that. I don't know actually if going after Soto is the right thing. I think he may bring a different dynamic to that clubhouse that actually might be detrimental.
And that's always the concern when you're going to have someone like Pete Alonso is established, Francisco Lindor is established, Brandon Nimmo is established, and so on and so forth. Now you're talking about bringing in Juan Soto, which, look, I love to watch the guy play in Washington. I was a little disappointed with him in San Diego, but watching what he's doing with the Yankees right now, he has said
Can't
he
argue.
wants to. He said he wants to be a Met, but he's also willing to sit with the Yankees and listening. So we will have to wait and see on Soto. But yes, there is a lot of speculation that the only reason he went to the Yankees for a 1 year deal was that he could stay in New York and just go play for the Mets in the next
Yeah, but I think the
year.
Mets should really interview him and say, "Are you gonna be a team player? Are you going to be? This is not a team of just because you're getting paid the most doesn't mean it's all about you.
He has to become humble and look at the hierarchy that's there. And I'm not talking about the organization heads. I'm talking about the actual players and realize that Lindor and Alonso are the captains of this team, even if they have not been fully given that honor. They are. They're the ones out there working with him. If you've seen the work that Lindor has put in with Vientos, there's a reason why
Yeah,
he's that good. And well, still makes a mistake here and there. He's a kid, but you can see how much he learned from Lindor in the off
yeah,
season. He's
absolutely.
improved.
And listen, this is a great time, I think, to be a New York sports fan. I mean, you look at there was a number of years where it was just really tough. And, I like the Nuggets now. I guess they're my, I don't know if they're my team, but it's been exciting to be in Denver and kind of have that excitement. But it's nice to see, the other New York team, like the Knicks really, I think it's not a flashy rise, but, they have some really flashy good players, but they're going to be great too. I think we're going to see in it for the Mets, the Yankees, the Knicks, the Giants even have some hopeful signals there. But I think the Knicks just have to shore up a couple things, and we're going to see a New York basketball team that is really competitive and can win a championship. I mean, I think I don't know. I saw some people who were really upset Hartenstein was gone, but Knicks, they're finally smart. They're finally smart. Instead of those dumb deals they were making, 10 years ago, whatever it was, maybe even, they finally have a smart person running the show. And Tom Thibodeau is great. He's someone who can really nurture and develop whoever they bring in. He makes stars. And so let Hartenstein go. Let's see the Knicks rise along with the Mets. That'd be great.
Yeah. As Mike said, being a New York sports fan is a good time. Almost every team has made it to the playoffs in the last few years, and it's great. But unfortunately, none of them have held up the ending winning trophy. But I'm not a New York Giants fan. I'm a Dallas fan, but we'll get to that later. Uh, Mike brought up as we're transitioning with the good orange and blue to the other orange and blue, and that is the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks surprised the entire NBA in finishing where they did and accomplishing what they did. If they did not lose Julius Randle, I don't know if they would have beaten Boston to get into the championship. Let's call fact fact. But I definitely think they would have been in the conference finals against Boston. Boston is just too good, and congratulations to them on winning a championship, especially Jason Tatum, because I happen to like Tatum. Mike brought up Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein was the backup for Mitchell Robinson, and truly, in my opinion, it should have been the other way around. Hartenstein could move laterally. He could rebound better. He could see the floor better than Mitch and actually get up and down it. And it's not just the Knicks who took notice. The whole league took notice. I'm sorry, money talks. I don't think the Knicks were going to match that offer. I think the Knicks need to trade Mitchell Robinson and get two new centers at this point. And there's plenty out there to be gotten. You can move Randall back to the center. He's played it like he did with the Lakers. But I think you have to look at names like James Wiseman, Mo Bamba. These two guys who can be used not for points. The Knicks just need height and rebounds. So that's what Hartenstein was brought in to do with Mitchell Robinson, but it really kind of changed the depth a little bit, and look where they went.
I also think that, if they could land someone like Walker Kessler from the Jazz in a trade. I know the free agent market's out there, but there is the trade market. It could be interesting. I think that trade could be a little difficult to pull off, but Walter Kessler, right? He's someone who needs some development. Well, Tom Thibodeau is someone who develops. He makes stars, and so man, if they could somehow swing that and the asking price wasn't too high, that would be interesting. And he would play ahead of Robinson. I mean, he would be ahead of Robinson. And I think, Precious Achua would be interesting. Um, I think he's not a Hartenstein, but he does know Thibodeau's system, and again he can develop further. So you almost have like a tandem bit of him and Robinson or someone else. Um, and then what's that guy's name out of? I just saw him playing the other day. Orlando. Mo Wagner.
Oh, Moritz Wagner. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting about him is, yes, he plays center. He does a lot of those things, some good production, but you add an interesting three-pointer threat, which is just fascinating when you have a center who can pop out and, shoot 35% from the free throw from the three-point line is really interesting. I think he's youngish too. I don't know. What do you think about Daniel Tice as a veteran hand?
It's interesting. I've that's not the you're not the first person who has brought that up. He would be very good as a veteran leadership, but I think they need somebody who is a little bit younger and can get up and down the floor faster because we've seen Mitchell Robinson barely can walk. I mean, he needs to be the backup, and there's plenty on the market. The Knicks have plenty of draft picks and stuff to play with in the trade market. So, we'll see. But one thing the Knicks did do is they helped out the guy who should have been not only the MVP of the league, he should be in the Hall of Fame now before he comes, and that's Jalen Brunson. But they went and made a trade with the Nets to bring Mikal Bridges over to this team. Now you got a point guard, shooting guard, Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson. You got Randall down low in this. I mean, at the forward. In this case, Mitchell Robinson is still there. So you got Mitchell Robinson at the center, and you can play around with that other forward position. You got plenty to work with. I would think the right move would be to use Precious Achua if he will resign. You know, Anybody who's going to be competitive and get rebounds, because that's what hurt the Knicks in the playoffs, and that's when Mitchell Robinson got injured. They lost their height competitiveness. But
Yeah,
and don't leave out the Hart, the man, my guy, Hart. He plays like he's in there. He's in there on every play.
yeah, I think
DiVincenzo, I'm sorry, my one time. DiVincenzo came over and had a great season.
yeah, he did.
So the outlook is spectacular. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking it'd be interesting to get one of those young guys who Thibodeau could develop a little bit. And I really love Daniel Tice. The reason is that you know exactly what you're going to get from him, right? He's going to be this consistent presence. So the ability for him to kind of mentor even another young center along with Tom Thibodeau, you may, because you are taking a chance when you go out and get a Walter Kessler or even Precious Achua, resign him, or I don't know, James Wiseman, whatever it is. He's 23 years old, James Wiseman, right? Like, so
Yes.
he needs, I think he'll develop the new confidence needed. I think Thibodeau's system can help him, but to have someone, a steady hand when he gets, overexcited or his emotions runneth over or whatever, a Daniel Tice you just put in there, give him a little breather, and one of these young guys and let him get some coaching on the sideline. I think there's some advantage to that there as well. But it's just exciting. I think they have many different pathways to shoring up that center position, and that's also good because when you're in a place, there was a time when the Knicks said, "Oh, if we just get this one big player, and that will solve all our problems," and they're I think in a better place where they're really building a kind of a deeper team and a good bench as well, right? You want that where you don't just have five starters. If one of them goes down, your bench is like me playing. You don't want that.
Well, the one good thing is the term the sixth man. I always like it in basketball. The Knicks have plenty of them who can be that sixth man. From Miles McBride, who had what a season, for a rookie. A great performance. You got Achua. You got plenty to choose from. So you don't have to worry about trying to find that six man because you have one there. You need to shore up the defense. You gotta go after a center. Tice is interesting. I did not have him on my radar, but I'm gonna take a look at what Mike just said. I think the Knicks need to make that the top priority is getting someone. I'm not saying it has to be 7'9", gotta get height. Another name could be Brooke Lopez, who's a free agent out of the Bucks. And yes, we're talking about a guy who's 36 years old again, but you want to know what? A guy who's still pulling down almost a double double a game. I'll take it if he's playing center and he's coming off the bench.
I think so. And listen, I again like it would be lovely to be in New York during this time because I think looking at just New York sports is so exciting, and it'd be just exciting to go all these games. And I'm particularly excited about the Giants beating up on Dallas this coming season. I don't know if just the new uniforms will do it, or I think they're trying to. I think it's great. They're kind of
Oh,
going retro. They're going retro. It's like
retro.
they are. They're
It, it
looking
looks
back at
like it looks like a kindergarten art class project.
nah, go look at some of the old timer uniforms from the 20s and 30s. I think that's what they were going for. And it's a throwback, right? In their kind of was the centennial year, their 100th year. I think it's really interesting. If you go look at black and white photos of football team, I think 1920 somewhere, mid 20s, you see that their pants and socks, how they used to roll back then, and in the 30s jersey. I think that's what it's an homage to that. So it's a little silly, but it's just 2 games. It'll be all right. Right. I think it's just 2 games they're wearing them for. And it'll be fascinating. Kind of looks like a prison uniform. I don't know, the stripe. I don't know. Whatever they got going on, the stripe, the white numbers, pants, tan pants, the
So as we
socks.
so as we stay in the New York sports world, as Mike is a New York Giants fan, and I am so glad I am not. I am a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, and Mike and I have had the battles for the last 35 plus years between Dallas and the Giants, and the outlook, and we'll do a little bit on each team. We'll start with the Giants, then it's Mike's team, and Mike is the guest. Let's look at the outlook for the Giants. They have no
Yeah.
running back. They
Eh,
don't have a quarterback.
They do. I think, listen, if Danny Dimes, man, if he gets back, if he's able to make good on the hope and promise that he brought out of Duke, I think he actually can develop quite well. And, listen, right now that's who they got. Right. They got Daniel Jones, man. He's there. And I think he's had a couple years. They're invested in him. They don't really have a choice here. I mean, I guess they always have a choice. Um,
No.
and I think he's recovering from injuries and hopefully fully, right? The neck injury and tore his ACL, but I think there's a lot there, and I think you give him, you give him those first 4 games of the season and have Drew Lock, breathing down his neck during preseason and practices and really pushing him. Um, I think that it would be interesting to see what happens there. But at 40 mil a year, I don't think they're looking anywhere else at this point.
And you touch on the topic that we've brought up on the network. They made the mistake by extending Daniel Jones and franchise tagging Saquon Barkley. It should have been the other way around. They should have kept Barkley, tag Jones for the 1 year, and then draft. Okay, we know what happened. Let's look at the Giants at a standpoint from coming up. I am actually kind of excited to see what Malik Neighbors can do. I know what the kid could do in college. I've watched plenty of film on him. I think he's going to match up well. The question will be is can the quarterback, Daniel Jones, get the ball to him? The line itself is not bad. The right guard a little shaky. If they can give him the 3 seconds that most quarterbacks need to be able to see the field and throw, maybe the Giants can win one game this year.
One game. I think they might. I think they might win half their games. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? I listen. I am actually. I don't know if I've converted fully, but when I was in Charlotte, I really loved the Panthers, and now in Denver here, there's some really exciting possibilities, and I just think I think so much of Sean Payton. Last year was just a mess, but I think. I'm more excited about the Broncos than the Giants, and I think the Broncos still may have another move in them to shore up their offense. But I think that with Sean Payton mentoring Bo Nix, I'm more excited about the Broncos, frankly, than the Giants. And Nix has that great, pretty good athleticism, and their wide receivers have some good possibility. And so I think there's a new chapter here with the Broncos, which I'm also excited about.
Are you going to take my nephew to a game at Mile High?
Yeah, I don't know if I get tickets. The Broncos fans are
Well,
pretty
I'm sure
hardcore.
it's very expensive, but would he? I think it would be a fun experience to
Yeah,
go.
it's a cool sports town except for baseball. I mean, the stadium's beautiful, but it's just such a shame the ownership of the Rockies doesn't care about winning ball games or anything. They just take their money they make because everybody still goes and go home. But yeah, I don't know. I think Dallas, it's a lost season, man. You got too many good rookie quarterbacks out there that are going to
Well,
destroy Dallas.
uh, Dallas again, led by Dak Prescott, who is they are very close to signing the extension, which is going to free up Dallas's money. After the signings of certain quarterbacks that topped over 55 million a year, it is projected that Dak Prescott will get a 5-year extension at 60 million per year.
Yeah.
Um, at about 245 of it guaranteed. So what does that do for Dallas? That's going to knock his cap number way down, and it's going to give Dallas fluctuation in money. Dallas doesn't need receivers here. Dallas doesn't need a tight end. The offensive line is good. I think they need a nose tackle. That's one position that has always been a problem. And no offense to the players who've been there the last couple of years, Neville Gallimore and whatnot, Jonathan Hankins, get another guy who can stop the run and let the linebackers and secondary handle the rest. I think the no-fly zone will be there this year. Speaking about the Broncos, I mean, I can't talk much about them, but I was kind of excited when they when they drafted, not signed, drafted Bo Nix. I did not think they were going to take a quarterback, even though they had already moved on from Russell Wilson. I like watching Bo Nix. It's just getting it, they traded away the best receiver in Jerry Judy. So, it's like you're bringing in Bo Nix, but right now he has really no one to throw to.
I think they'll find the way. It's going to be a couple years, but I think Bo Nix is an exciting quarterback for the future, and that's always important for a fan base is to have someone that you can really think about. And hey, does Dallas play the Bears this season or no? I don't know. I
Give me two
wonder.
seconds. No,
Oh man, I want to see your boys get beat up by their. I really like their. I really like Caleb Williams there, and I think for the gosh darn it, man, the Bears and the fans there deserve something good finally. It's been 50 years, 40 years, whatever it is.
well, not since 1986. The Super Bowl Shuffle Boys, but not 86. Sorry, that was Giants. 85. Um, let's talk about that. You got the Chicago Bears who had the number one draft pick. There was speculation maybe they would trade it, and go with somebody else. But 2 weeks in, up to the draft, Caleb Williams was going to be drafted by the Bears. So what do the Bears do? They know they're going to have a rookie quarterback. So they're going to get a good running back who has good vision. They go out and get DeAndre Swift. Brilliant move. Was he the top name out there? No, he didn't have to be. He is an immediate upgrade from what they had.
Well, and their offensive line is greatly improved.
Yes, the offensive line is going to give Caleb Williams the time he needs. And Caleb Williams isn't Michael Vick, but he can move and run. And if you give the kid time, he's going to beat you with his legs. He can do it with his arm, but he can do it with his legs either. But I don't think we'll ever see a quarterback like Michael Vick run again. I mean, that was He was running from linebackers and the long arm from the law, but that's okay. But now you have the wide receivers. You got DJ Moore. You end up drafting Rome Duzier. You got Cole Kmet, one of the most solid tight ends last year. And now you look at this team and picture the other teams that are right there. You got the Detroit Lions, who are predicted to repeat for the NFC North. You got the Green Bay full of hole Packers.
Mm.
Okay. But they're not a bad team. It's that they need to rebuild. And then you have the most weirdest team, the Minnesota Vikings. But I think they are so underestimated.
Yeah,
Whether
listen,
it
I've been looking at all the you mentioned, I think, in your rundown, all the rookie quarterbacks, and there's so many interesting pieces out there that I think some of the teams you mentioned, some you didn't, but like, JJ McCarthy, fascinating, right? He's got the great he's got the great support for a young quarterback. He fits in their system. The play action pass, man, he can do that right off the bat and develop it. And hopefully there's not so much pressure there, right? He just has to stay healthy. And I think, man, if they had some running game, that would be a 10, man.
and that's the one area that was left as a mistake. You
Yeah.
know, you never like to say, look, JJ McCarthy, we knew was going to be drafted in the top 10. And I think Minnesota just got fortunate, able to get up and get him. But the key was they kept Justin, they kept Jefferson, you got Jordan Addison, you got TJ Hawkinson, you got a good line, but Mike pointed out the one weakness is the running game. There's
If
no
they somehow up their running game between now and the start of the season, man, they would be a real threat.
and like you said, there's still time. Trades can be made and whatnot. But if you're thinking that there's a top running back in free agency that can end up there, no, we know where they've all gone. They've all
It would be
signed
someone
and whatnot.
emerging, having a resurgence, or just, someone you didn't expect coming out of the blue.
Exactly. And I think Chicago was trying, excuse me, was trying to, not Chicago, Minnesota was trying to make sure that the offense was explosive enough. But the problem is you need to have that running back that has the experience and the vision, and that's what they lack. But there's time to develop it. I
Yeah, I'm
think
hope.
the I
Yeah.
think the NFC North is going to be a fun division because it's all young guys, and I love it. I think the NFC East is between Dallas and Philadelphia. Don't worry, the Giants won't be anywhere near there. You don't have to worry about it.
Well, I'm actually really one of the players that I really have enjoyed watching. Um, is Michael Penix, and join Atlanta. And I think I mean, if I was Kirk Cousins, I'd be ticked off, man. But I think it's really cool place for him because he's got no pressure, right? Like, unless Kirk Cousins goes down with an injury, like, he can just um, play when he plays, sit, learn a lot, no pressure. Um, and then Kirk Cousins now has become a placeholder for him. And I think there's really an opportunity for him to learn at his own pace, be a true student of the game, develop that part of his game, right? He's got a lot of the physical things going right, but
Right?
develop the mental part of the game and really, with no pressure, ride the bench happily, fill in some plays here and there. Um, but the Falcons, if I mean, Cousins is not a spring chicken. If he goes down, um, I think Atlanta, they're they've got a good offensive line with some good decent weapons. You don't need tons if you have a quarter, someone who can hit them. So, I don't know if you see Michael until year two, but if Cousins goes down, then maybe. But still, I think he's an exciting player to watch develop for Atlanta in the future there.
See, Mike brought up a great point, and not only was I shocked, the entire world was shocked
Yeah.
when Atlanta drafted Michael Penix. A couple of my friends weren't surprised they drafted a quarterback, but nobody had predicted Penix to be up there, especially after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $140 million. I mean, I understand you want to get a backup in there, God forbid Kirk Cousins goes down, but it was it just doesn't make sense. I'm Kirk Cousins, and you're drafting a quarterback after you're making me your draft. Well, their answer was we're drafting to have protection. They could have gotten any free agent to come in there and be the backup for Kirk Cousins.
I think they're just telling the truth. They're saying we know Kirk Cousins is over the hill and he can serve us for 2, maybe 3 years. But in that year three, man, we're transitioning and we think Penix is our guy.
And I think you're exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is that they grabbed him when they did, so they could give the fans a little bit of hope going into next year with Bijan and Drake London. Drafting Penix, yeah, you got a little bit of protection, but no offense. I mean, look, to Mike the Pun Master Rifkin, who will see this and hate me, I have hated Kirk Cousins since the day he stepped on a football field. I can't stand him. He's too arrogant. I think he's going to get hit a lot. I think he's going to get roughed up a lot. But if he can get on connection with Drake London, that could be another instance like him to Justin Jefferson. Drake London has that breakaway speed and can run routes really well. Bijan Robinson had a very weird rookie year because the team was in such disarray. He'll bounce back this year.
Yeah, speaking
So,
about Drake's though, you mentioned Drake London, but what the heck were the Patriots thinking drafting Drake May? I don't
okay.
get it. Like I don't get it. Like they don't have anything else. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have receiver. They don't have tight ends. They don't have any of that supporting group, that cast. And on top of that, here you get a young quarterback. Look at their coach. He's he's a newbie. He's a rookie himself. And on top of that, he's not an offensive coach. He's not a quarterbacks guy. He's a defense guy. And so on top, they needed a guy who could play right away. And on top of that, they needed if they go get a young guy, they need a coach who can coach him. And so here you have Drake May who needs time to develop. There's some great potential there. I really think so. But I think New England's going to be one of the toughest team. I mean, I 2 games maybe. They'll win. I mean, I think it's going to be real rough in New England.
And that's one of the left quarterbacks we hadn't talked about, and I wanted to save him for last, so which I'm glad Mike did. I liked watching Drake May in college. He definitely has a good arm. He can read his receivers well. He can move around in the pocket. If I was New England, with the amount of quarterbacks that were in the draft, I would have not drafted Drake May, even though, yes, I had him picked. That's where he was going to go. I did that for the draft challenge because that's, you're trying to win money. You're going to make sense where you're going to make picks. I would have traded out. I'm not talking about trading out of the first round here. I'm talking trading down a few picks. Could have, Atlanta could have very easily moved up into the 2. And could you imagine with Atlanta's mind, they drafted Penix. Could they have possibly drafted Drake May? I mean, that would be the ultimate insult to Kirk Cousins. But if I was New England, I would have traded, got a couple picks for this year, next year, maybe even a position player out of it. What the problem was is that they had no quarterback. You have the best active coach in football who just walked away, left. So there was no real talent in the draft market in New England. No offense to the New England Patriots war room, but it was a mess.
I think the Commanders made the same mistake too. I mean, they made almost the same mistake, right? They have Dan Quinn there, also defensive coach.
Yes, he
How
is.
good is he? How good is he going to be with Daniels, right? I mean, on top of that, you're throwing potentially a rookie quarter. I think I think he's going to start. I don't know, but
Yes,
he's
Jaden.
there. He'll start. The offensive line is right. The running game
That
is the
was
running game is
generous.
right. The running game is And
That was still generous.
Dotson has been a disappointment.
Yes. And he was, when he was drafted, and you looked at the possible pairing of him and Terry McLaurin, that was lightning in a bottle right there. They just never had a quarterback that could line up these guys. They thought Sam Howell was the answer. He
Well,
wasn't.
no, they're asking
Oh,
Jaden to be like a messiah. I mean, to do everything. He's not gonna be able to do that. He's a kid.
and we've over the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of rookie quarterbacks come in and start, and some have had fortuitous careers so far. Patrick Mahomes, namesake, right there. Others have had to wait and get a resurgence, a la Baker Mayfield, who had a great year last year in Tampa. So, are they going to throw Jaden Daniels in to the Wolves, so to speak? Yeah, he's going to start. There's no way Sam Howell starts. I think it's the best way for this kid to get in there. He's got to get on page with McLaurin. Johan Dotson will fall in line. You got to get on page with your number one. And that means you're spending 5, 6 hours a day throwing balls to him. That's what it is. So,
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be
the
interesting to
Washington
see.
Commanders, they don't command anything. Yeah. I don't expect them to go far. Now, before we go, we have to talk about the stupid New York team that I don't like, the New York Yankees. I,
Yeah.
the New York Yankees.
Oh, the Yankees.
Uh,
I thought you were talking about the Jets.
no, I don't have to comment about the Jets. I actually have a lot of nice things to say about the Jets, but the New York Yankees. Now, Mike and I growing up, we went to Shea Stadium plenty. I believe we even got to go to one Subway Series game, you and me.
Yeah, yeah,
Not in
I
the
think
World
so.
Series, I mean during the regular season.
Sure.
Um, and the Yankees are that team where you have Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, and Aaron Judge. Well, right now, Stanton yet again is injured for the sixth time in 8 seasons. Aaron Judge is just hitting the cover off the ball. I mean, he's
I
just
thank him. My Aaron Judge cards are going through the roof. It's lovely.
well, oh, that one card, I loved it. Oh, it's beautiful. Um, the Yankees pitching isn't horrible, but it had its up and down. You know, going into the second half, the Yankees have the lead where they want. They're not number one. Baltimore's number one for a
I
reason.
know. I saw that. That was great.
Look, I mean, the Baltimore Orioles are probably the second most exciting team in baseball. The Cincinnati Reds are the most exciting team in baseball right now,
Well,
in my
I think
opinion.
Baltimore. You're going to see Baltimore. I think fall off a little bit. Some of their rookies are, the longevity of the season, the length of the season. I think you may see the Orioles have a little tougher second half than first half. I think
And
that may
that's
be
a
true for.
possibility.
Yeah, I think that may be true for a lot of teams. Frankly, I even think the Phillies may have a tougher second half because you got these guys who are throwing so hard, and you have some players who are either older or younger who the 162 games. That's a long season, but the Yankees. I love seeing them lose, so that was real fun seeing the Mets whoop them twice. I'm looking forward to the second set of games to hopefully see that happen again. Okay, look, Aaron Judge for the cards I have of his, and just seeing I mean, he's on pace for what 68 home runs, or I mean something crazy like that,
As
170
of right
RBI.
now, 68, yes.
Yeah,
I have that note here. So I was
yeah,
able to
I
confirm.
just
Yeah.
guessed, but that's good. But I'm actually kind of more interested. I really love watching young players, and so I'm more interested in like Ben Rice and kind of what he can do in the second half of the season. And because I mean, listen, you're paying Judge and Soto so much, you should expect them to hit about 300, hit 40 plus home runs, get 130 plus RBIs. But Ben Rice is someone who I think if the Yankees are going to be successful, if they're going to overcome some of the weaknesses in their pitching, I think a young guy like Ben Rice could really help create a spark that lets them overcome some of that if they don't pick up any pieces at the trade deadline.
And you brought up a great name because I didn't know much about him until the other day when they were featuring him. And I actually was watching the little thing they had on him. He's got a great swing. I watched him hit that laser of a single the other night. He's got a nice swing. I think he'll be a nice young resurgent. I mean, if you look at this Yankees team, Volpe, Dominguez will be back very soon. Oswaldo Cabrera will be back very soon. Ben Rice. And, the rotation, unfortunately, when you have your $30 million pitcher injured and has not found his stride yet, it's a little concerning. Rodon has been
Yeah.
a little bit better. So, the Yankees are not giving up 100 runs when he pitches. But I think the rotation is just unsure. And I think the Yankees would be smart to see if they can get a starter. The problem is with the trade they made to get Juan Soto, they don't have much flexibility to use players for. And they're not going to give up a Ben Rice or something like that. We
Well, and they're
know
not
that.
going to take on salary.
Right.
I don't think they have it. I don't think the ownership wants to take on more salary. But listen, I think Ben Rice. They would be stupid to trade him. I mean, look,
Right.
this cat played what 10 games in AAA and now 15, however many games in the major leagues. He is he's killing it. I mean, the learning curve on this guy is unbelievable, and I think in some ways he's definitely an upgrade over what's his face Rizzo, and he's the future. And so I think I'm a big future looking kind of guy. I think the quickest the Mets can bring up Luis Angel Acuna would be amazing. I think he could fit right in with sparking. I mean, I think he'd be sparking just like Alvarez and Vientos are, and I think it'd be, and I don't think he would. He's young enough that he's going to listen to the older players. But no, the Yankees. I hope they implode. I hope everybody's arm falls off. Um, but uh, but they are looking pretty strong. I think it'll be interesting to see whether Baltimore. I don't know if Baltimore can match them. I for whatever reason, I really think Baltimore's going to fall off.
And some teams do when you get into the dog days of summer. It's hot. I mean, Baltimore, New York, you're playing in an area that will average 90, 95 degrees, and it's harder. But I like an interesting question for you, Mike. You have Ben Rice. Yes, he's had success since he's been up. Mind you, he's still a rookie, and this is his first season. You have other players who can help out at first. Do you talk to Anthony Rizzo and see if he's willing to accept a trade somewhere?
Does he have a full no trade clause?
No, I do not
Oh,
believe he does.
so I mean, you don't have to talk to him then, unless you just want to show him that respect. But I think I listen. I think I don't know. I think there's a team who out there who would like a Rizzo for a playoff run. It just has to be the right match because teams on playoff runs aren't willing to give up big pieces. So it's if the Yankees want to ditch him for some single A ball players who have potential, okay, maybe. But I don't think you're going to find a big market for him. I don't know what market you would find for him, right? So do they want a Rizzo in the World Series might be really great for the Yankees. I mean, he's been around.
Well,
So
the veteran leadership, that there's no question about it, especially from his time with the Cubs, etc. You know, I just see him. I see it like kind of being in the middle domino that's now surrounded is like that doesn't fit, won't stand up straight, and is going to knock it all over. I liked watching Anthony Rizzo when he was in Chicago. I thought it was a great move by the Yankees when they signed him, especially with that short porch and right, the way he swings.
yeah,
Unfortunately, his time has not panned out any better. And if I'm the Yankees, I'm giving Ben Rice all the chances he can. But let's mind you, we've seen players like Jackson Holiday come up, Jordan Walker come up and start off hot, but then all of a sudden teams figure them out a little bit and they need to be sent back down. So that then begs the question, why would you trade Anthony Rizzo? But if you can get another first baseman out of it, plus a little bit of help, maybe.
listen, I have my wish list put together. I'd love to see, at least for the Mets. It'd be fascinating for them to pick up Garrett Crochet from the White Sox. That would be interesting. The Tigers have some good pitching there. It'd be an interest because is Flaherty a starter?
Yes.
So I don't know if they need starters, but as much. But I also think, by the way, going back to the Mets, I think the Mets could trade away a starter and be okay and get something in return. I mean, Severino is interesting in terms
I
of
would not
trade
get rid
bait.
of Sethi. No way.
I know, but it depends what you get back. But I don't know. I think when you're looking at who's out there, you might even go after if a starter's willing to be a guy in the bullpen for you, or I don't know. There's so many interesting names out there from Kikuchi to Lizardo. Um, Tanner Scott would be a great pickup in terms of relievers.
If they can get Tanner Scott in the bullpen, that would be awesome. I don't know. That might cost a real big piece, and that could
Well,
be Ryan
he is an
Clifford.
impending free agent. It would be a rental, and that's the problem. But
Well, if I was any team, if I'm going to make a trade for him, it's
trade
a
and
deal
sign.
only if he signs an extension.
Yeah, the problem is he's well, I don't know who represents him. I don't think it's what's his face, that
It's
idiot.
not Scott Boras. That much I know.
Yeah. But no, another good one, like a fallback would be, not even a fallback. I mean, he's been doing great. Is what's his face from the Blue Jays? Garcia.
Bassett. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you would go with
No,
Bassett,
Yimi
but yes.
Garcia. I mean, Bassett, I love but Yimi Garcia would be also an interesting thing. Or I don't know if the Giants are going to be sellers at the deadline because you got Tyler Rogers over there who's
Yeah.
having a really nice season.
Yeah, and if you love this show, like and subscribe. We're here. We have guest stars, and this is a rock star. For all of you who don't know, we'll give you a quick background. Mike was second to none to me in baseball in every facet around, whether it was throwing, hitting, catching. He was behind me. When it came to basketball, he towered over me. He could win that. Oh, come on. I'm allowed to get my ego up. No. Like like Mr. Barzilai, Omer, who was on the show, Mike and I have played ball together for so long that we ended up playing old man slow pitch softball together
That's right.
on the same team. Um, Please, if you like the podcast, check us out at www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for all the great blogs, all the great featurettes like this. We will be doing this coast to coast with me and my friend, not friends, me and my family who are spread out across the world. We will have our friend from Israel in on the next one, and that's just going to be a nostalgic 5 minutes when we start. um, you can check us out on X. You can come and email us. The Dugout of Millwood, which is our baseball card sponsor, which is my business. Thank you very much. We'll be having more featurettes on singles, and be sure to watch for Charlotte's one of ones that she does as she's getting into finding autographs and is having a great time doing it. I would like to thank Mike Shields for taking time out of his very busy schedule, in which looks like to be an absolute gorgeous day in
It is a
Colorado.
gorgeous day.
I have one question for you, and as I noticed the roofs behind you, are those frisbees all up on the roofs? Those little discs?
No, those are like air conditioning vents and different things. No, I wish it was frisbees. I mean, we'd be
Oh, I was
playing
looking
more
at it, I
here.
was like, the little circles, I'm like, are those frisbees? That'd be cool.
I think
Uh,
it's fair to, I am a rabbi. We didn't mention that, but to end in prayer, may all of the arms of the Yankees fall off in the coming days and weeks, and may all of the strength from the Yankees surge to the Mets as they continue their dominance in the NL East, and may they catch the Phillies because the Phillies always deserve to lose in my estimation, and may God bless and keep the Dallas Cowboys far away from us.
so, uh, so on that note, I would like to thank you all for tuning in, and you'll see more of us. For now, I'm Mark Oldovsky Halpern, along with my brother, Michael Shields, telling you enjoy, have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you on the flip side.